Hi, everybody. It's Pastor Rob with today's Bible Break devotion. Our subject today is, why is home so hard? Why is home so hard? We're in Mark chapter 5. I'm going to read one verse here in verse 19 in just a minute, but let me just catch you up. In Mark chapter 5, we're introduced to a disturbed man. I mean, a guy who's messed up. A guy who's living in a cemetery. He's cutting himself. He's crying. He's he's a wreck, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, separated from everybody he knows and loves. Oh, but then Jesus comes along. God does a wonderful touch in his life. It's an illustration of the wonderful saving grace of God. This man at the end of the account, by the way, it's not just a story or parable. It's a real account. It's history. He says, Jesus, I want to be with you. And listen to what Jesus had to say. He says in verse 19, howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. Now, all this week, at least the next 3 devotion, is going to be a family-focused devotion. This is Father's Day week, and so happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there, and to all of you men that love God and know God and walk with God and sincerely are doing your very best to lead your families. Thank you for what you're doing. And fathers, husbands, I'm proud of you. Keep going. Keep being faithful. But in this series of devotions, we're going to look at 3 things. Number 1, why is home so hard? Number 2, we're going to look at the hindrances to the home tomorrow. And then the next day, we're going to look at healing or helps for the home. But I just want to point out 3 things. This man, he says, Jesus, I want to be with you. And Jesus says, no, I've got a better plan for you. He says, I want you to, he says, go home. Now listen, the first place that we need to be a Christian is at home. That's where it starts. And usually the opposite is true. Usually our testimony is weakest at home and strongest abroad. But Jesus said, the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to go home. Now, let me just answer directly the question, why is home so hard? You look at the dismal statistics. You look at the marriages that are crumbling, relationships, families that are broken. Even more saddening that, you look at the growing number of statistics that people are eschewing marriage altogether. They're just cohabitating, living together, whatever, just going through their life, doing this thing. Now, listen, why is home, why is marriage, why is family so hard? I believe there are 4 things. Number one, marriage is a God-given institution. We don't have time, but go back to the book of Genesis in chapters 1 and 2 and even chapter 3, and you'll see that marriage was given by God. Now, anything that God establishes, the devil hates. And the devil's main purpose in his existence is to steal and to kill and to destroy. He's going to do everything to steal the joy out of your family, out of your marriage, out of your relationship. He's going to kill off that relationship. He's going to do everything to bring it to a conclusion and kill the joy and the love and the intimacy and the closeness in families. You see it every day. You may be experiencing it. And he's out to destroy. He's out to absolutely destroy every single individual and pull that family completely apart. You see it every day. I see it every day. Number 1, why is home so hard? Because the family, the home, is a God-given institution. By the way, man is not free to redefine what God has established. God gave marriage. It's not a man-made idea. It's not a preacher-made idea. It's not a government idea. God instituted marriage. God designed it with a very specific intention and design. It's not for me to you to redefine or redesign. Number two, marriage is hard because of expectations. We go into the marriage relationship and we have such high expectations for our wives or for our husbands and for the mothers and fathers. We have this idea of what we're going to get out of it or what we're going to get into it. And then we come to find out that our expectations have really many times completely off base with our spouse's expectations. And I have expectations and my spouse doesn't meet them. You have expectations and your spouse doesn't meet them. And my wife has expectations of me and I don't meet them. And we all have these expectations. That's one of the things that makes marriage so hard. Can I just say the solution to that is to sit down ahead of time and find out what your expectations of marriage are. If you're already married, then what I want to tell you to do is this. You need to sit down and you need to talk about those expectations. A lot of the frustration in your marriage is because of expectations. Number three, limitations. In a marriage setting, let me tell you something, you're limited. You're limited because you're just a human being. I can't read my wife's thoughts, although I really wish I could. My wife can't read my thoughts, but I really wish she could. We're limited. We have a finite knowledge, finite experience, and we're limited. We're just human beings. And may I say, one of the worst things that you can do is to put your expectations of completion and fulfillment and happiness on your spouse or on your children. Hey, there's only one person that you're going to find completion in, and that's in God and in the Lord Jesus Christ. Number four, the fourth thing that makes marriage hard is this. It is accumulation. Number one, marriage is a God-given institution. Number two, expectations. Number three, limitations. And number four, accumulation. That's what makes marriage hard. Over time, offenses are accumulated. History is accumulated. Hurts are accumulated. Words are accumulated. And can I say today, that's one of the things that hurts and why makes marriage so hard. And that is why there's such a great temptation to run, to flee outside of marriage, is because there is no accumulation. Can I say that's the worst thing you can do? Now listen, the home is hard. A good, godly, wonderful, loving, peaceable home is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. But it is possible. It is God's will and God's way for you and I to work through these things. Now, I hope you'll come back tomorrow. We're going to continue this passage on what is God's expectation for a Christian in a home. Well, God bless you. I hope this has been a help to you, and we'll see you tomorrow.